Hello, I am Omar, and this is my lovely co-host,
Cherie.
and we are To Have Into Horror, where we like to talk about horror movies, horror games, books, anything, but really bring the perspective of life as a married couple with parents. And I believe that, content that's valuable is content that makes you think, and I find a lot of value in horror movies. Today we are bringing our thoughts on the movie Fresh. Got actually done seeing it not too long ago. Cherie actually saw it twice, so she might have more developed thoughts. Girl goes on a date with guy, falls in love. He ends up being a creep who has a desire to eat other human flesh.
Yeah.
The things that happen when dating, right? Am I right, guys? We usually do spoilers in our reviews because it's just easier to talk about it that way. So if you have not seen the movie, I would recommend it. If you have Hulu, check it out. It's already available. I thought it was pretty good. So I'll definitely would recommend it. That's the extent of my non-spoiler review. Would you recommend watching it?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I was looking at reviews from Facebook, actually, and a lot of people spoke highly of it and were really like, oh, you need to watch this. It's like the best thriller out right now. So I was going based off of that. The trailer, I thought it was going to do something different than what the movie actually did. But all in all, I think it's, watchable. It's a good movie. That
being said, we'll get right into spoilers, and really, first thing I just want to start off by saying is I am very glad that I am not in the dating scene. We've been married, coming up on our 10-year, soon, not just yet, but we're closer to the 10 years than we are to the 5 years, I would say. So
we've been together 13.
We've been together 13. Married.
Yeah.
Going to be 9 years, but not too far off from 10. But I'm just very glad that is behind me, because seeing really just what this woman goes through, and of course it's a movie, suspension of disbelief, but I think this really speaks to I would say an epidemic out there of women and men just really being unable to find love. And I think ultimately what I've kind of gleaned from this movie is just the loneliness that's out there. That's kind of just like my first thought that I want to throw out there. But let's just kind of walk it back. What did you think about the movie? What did you like? What didn't you like?
I liked it. I really enjoyed the acting. I think it was well done, especially from her, the girl, when he actually takes her back to his place. He ends up drugging her. She wakes up not knowing what's going on, and he just blatantly, tells her the truth. She's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I drugged you, and this is what's going to happen. She starts freaking out, and I felt it in myself, if I was in that situation, because I watch a lot of, crime shows and movies, and that's what I'm into. So I felt like if I was in her position, that's exactly how I would feel. I'd be in disbelief, how in the world can I let this happen to me when I know better? Then at the same time, I don't know, was she picky, was she desperate, and so she was just put in this situation. So, but I feel like the way that she acted when she found out exactly what was happening to her was exactly how I would have reacted. No, this can't be happening.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that was very striking, because we live our lives being exposed to the news and movies and stories and a lot of tragic events. This is a woman who, she's just living her life thinking that she met a guy, and the next thing she knows, not only is he a creep, he's a mega creep, and he's gonna kill her slowly and consume her, and also sell her body parts. So yes, it is very drastic, but I think that, to your point, the idea that me, this can't happen to me, my life is boring, my life is average, I'm just living day to day. So I thought that I would agree. I think that the anxiety in that moment of how can this be happening to me, the actress was able to portray that very well. I think Sebastian's character I thought was pretty comedic. I like Sebastian. I mean, I liked the actress, I believe Daisy Edgar-Jones, I have it written down here, and just the dynamic that they had, the kind of the chemistry that they had, I thought was pretty believable. The premise, while not, I wouldn't say it's original or new, but it was good. It was interesting. It kept me engaged, but I thought they did it well. I will say that one of the things that I found very intriguing, or I just thought was kind of cool, was you're watching the movie, and when she gets drugged, when she's invited to her, his place, and when you know that things are about to go down, she gets drugged, she passes out, and that's when the credits start rolling, and we're like 20-30 minutes in. That to me, I know it was kind of like a weird thing to mention, but I thought that was kind of cool. It was played comedically, I think, and it kind of really set the tone that this is, she's in a serious situation, but this is also kind of silly.
Well, maybe also too, because when he tells her he's gonna basically kill her slowly because the meat tastes better when it's fresh, when it's when they're alive. So then basically, since the title is fresh, by them doing that, it is kind of just literal, I guess, right? Like keeping them fresh and alive.
You kind of think, as someone who knows a little bit about hunting, one of the things that they say is you really need to be careful when hunting any kind of animal to not frighten it or scare it, because that fear will taint the meat. And that's kind of what he's doing while he's keeping them alive, because if you were to kill them while they're in fear, in essence would taint the flavor of the meat, and his business would take a hit because he sells these parts to different clients. As he cares for these women, and it's not just one, you find out that it's multiple women and it's really just a whole racket that he's got going on, a whole business. Like there's a delivery man, there's clients all over, and you end up finding out later on that the wife is in on it.
Yeah.
So it's not just a one-man psychopath's journey. It's like a whole underground business. He cares for these women, and little by little they go from being fearful to just kind of slowly accepting that they're going to die. Mm-hmm. And I think that's done purposefully rather than just, I'm going to kill you now, you're dead, and then that meat's kind of just tainted overall. Again, I'm not equating one for the other, because they are still afraid, so that, if we want to get real technical, I'm sure that'll have some impact on the meat. It's a movie, but what ends up happening is he starts to develop feelings for the main character, and just to say, her name is Noah. Noah and Steve are the two main characters. So Steve develops an attraction that really just gets in the way of the business, and that ultimately ends up being his downfall as she uses it against him.
Yeah.
I think another undertones, or I would say a meta narrative on dating overall, is just the things that people need to go through just to get close to someone. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel sorry for Noah, because she starts the movie about to go on, I guess, I would call it a Tinder date. Yeah. Seems like it's like a swipe left, right type of app. I don't know if it's Tinder. I've never been on Tinder, so I don't know what it looks like. All I know is the swipe right and left aspect. This guy ends up being a total creep, a douchebag, really just narcissistic. He makes her pay. He makes her bring cash so that she can pay for her own meals. So takes her. I mean, this guy is a total creep. Yeah. And then she's just like kind of given up on love, but she's still out there looking. And I really think that speaks to just the loneliness that people are dealing with out there. And that's something that I take away from this movie as well, that really makes me kind of sad. I don't know if the director or the writer intended it to be. Maybe if it was more just a thriller on a girl meeting a guy and he ends up being an a-hole. But I take from this also just the loneliness out there and the trouble that you have to go through to find a good guy. Now, I believe that you're going to find a lot of creeps in the city, which is why I don't really think living in a city is good. We don't live in a city. You're not going to find the cream of the crop living in those places, which is where I think the movie kind of starts off in.
Yeah, and the conversation that we had when, so Noah has his best friend, Molly, who, she's really funny. I like her character a lot. Because she's very, I guess, realistic when it comes to these type of, like, situations, whether it comes to dating and, like, you know, being cautious with people as well. So they're, like, working out. It's still the beginning, and they're working out. And they're like, we don't need a guy. Like, I can be by myself. And Noah's like, this is normal for me. I'm used to it. But then at the same time, she's still, like, on that app, like, swiping and, like, looking for someone. So, you know, like, deep down, even though she tells herself she's okay, she really needs someone. You know, so I feel like that's people nowadays. Like, they want to be strong on the outside, but in reality, they need that comfort. They need someone, something. So, and another thing, what I was going to say, I don't know, but, like, once meeting Steve, I feel like she goes all in and is just trusting with him because she's, like, in disbelief that people can still meet in person. She's trying and trying through these apps, and it's, like, not working for her. So I feel like when he comes into the picture, he's like, oh, can I get your number? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, that's fine. And it's just like, why do you do that? So I feel like desperation, too, comes from it.
Yeah,
you know, like, you can tell.
There's a desire to be loved.
Yeah.
And to have someone. And I think the culture really tries to downplay, not just, I would say downplay is an understatement. They're really trying to banish the idea that you find fulfillment in the value you bring to someone else and the value that you have for that person. Because even throughout the movie, yeah, like you said, she's trying to be independent and claim that she's independent, yet she goes all in with Steve so fast. And I mean, they're like, I think in the movie's time, I don't think they're together even for, like, they're dating even for a week, and he asked her to go away. Yeah, go away with him for like a weekend or something. Yeah. And when we were watching it, we were just like, what? Yeah. That is...
Because her friend hasn't even, like, got a picture of him.
Yeah,
she doesn't even know his last name. Noah doesn't even know his last name. Like, she doesn't know anything about him.
She just knows his name is Steve, and he's cute, and they sleep together, like, on the first date, which is another thing that...
It comes up that she's the only one that actually slept with him, so that makes her special, I guess.
She develops Noah when she's trapped in the house, and she meets the other... Penny. There's two victims. One, Penny, and then there's another. What was her name? Melissa, who's more far gone.
Yeah.
Penny's still kind of cognizant, able to talk. Melissa is really at that point where she's accepted death, so she's really kind of lost. Loopy is that's exactly a good word that I was just thinking of. But she finds out in talking to Penny that none of the other girls have ever slept with him. So yeah, there it speaks to the connection that Steve feels he has with her. But again, in looking at it and seeing how this movie portrays this relationship, I just think it continues the trend of cheapening that which you have to give, as she just Noah gives her body away within the first few hours of meeting this guy, and again speaking to that loneliness that she has, that she's ready to just jump in bed with this man that she doesn't even know. Yeah, they had a good time at the bar where they got to know each other, and yes, they were probably a little drunk. Even then, it's just the lack of care that you have for your own self-worth is evident in Noah's life. I think another thing I wanted to touch on is the subtle message, and this is something that's not new to Hollywood. It's actually been going on for quite a few years now, but it's becoming more and more evident. But there's like a subtle message about really just men being overall trash. Because you have Steve, who... obviously, he's the bad guy because he's killing these women. You have the man at the beginning, Chad, the first date, who's, like we just said, he's a total D-bag. Selfish. He really makes a bad impression and then thinks he's going to take this girl home. So clearly he's just looking to use her body. So he goes in for like a kiss or something, and Noah's like, I don't think this is going to work out. And he just walks away.
Like, you're not my type anyway. I was just being nice.
He insults her. And then just fast forwarding to the end of the movie ends with a shot of Noah's phone, and Chad messages her, "Hey, you up or are you up?" And it's just, and that's like the last shot of the movie. And again, this guy is really just a total a-hole. So you have him, then you have Steve's clients, who they have little shots here and there of the men, and I say men because I don't believe I saw a single woman in that whole montage. So again, it's kind of subtle messaging. And then to me, the biggest disappointment is the bartender guy, who I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I just call him the bartender man, who you think is like cool. He's like,
maybe it was Kevin. Who knows?
He's gonna help out Molly, try to find Noah. She sends her location because she's like, hey, if things go down, I trust that you're gonna come after me, and he follows her. And then right like at the climax,
he hears gunshots.
The last 5-10 minutes of the movie, he hears gunshots, and he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh, but then I was like, you know what? After thinking about it, I'm like, I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
One, in myself, and two, in the movie. But he's like, yeah, I'm out. I've seen too many movies. And, again, playing for laughs, like the black man is always the first to die and things like that. But it just kind of completely ruined his kind of character trajectory, and just ends the movie being, again, trash. He knows that these women are in trouble. He hears screaming, and then he hears gunshots. And he's like, peace, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. Knowing that these women are in danger.
Well, then again, this gives the women opportunity to be like the real, real
tough
fighters.
We're going to take this guy down.
Yeah, like, we can do a girl power. It's just like...
I mean, again, you can't have a message about men being trash without also the other half, the other side of the coin of men being the ultimate badass, really. Just... And it's not to say that 3 women couldn't overpower one man who just had his junk bitten off, because and Noah, in her attempts to escape, seduces Steve, and when she's doing things, decides to bite his junk off. So that's how she manages to get away. He gets his gun, goes after them, her, Molly, and Penny, who have escaped, and they overpower him. Hey, it's possible, but really just the bartender man leaving, I think, was to me the biggest disappointment, the biggest thing that I didn't like. And while we're on that, I know there was something that you mentioned not liking as far as Steve's origins. I don't know if you wanted to touch on that.
Oh, yeah, as far as like him becoming a cannibal, I guess we would call him, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that I remembered when watching was when they're having dinner, they're still, like, she hadn't gone to his place yet. They're at her place, and they're eating dinner, and she's like, oh, these spare ribs are, like, my favorite. And he's like, oh, I don't eat animals. And I thought that was very specific, because he didn't say he didn't eat meat. He said he didn't eat animals, but she took it as, oh, he's vegetarian, I'm sorry. But she didn't even think in her mind that he meant, oh, I don't eat animals, but I eat human meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I found that interesting, because when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that was a good catch. So by him
saying, that he doesn't eat animals. But yeah, and then when they're at his place, she asks, oh, when did you first try it? He says, oh, about 18 or 19 years old. Yeah, I just tried it, and then since then, I couldn't get the taste out of my mouth. It was just so good, and all this stuff. And I'm like, they don't go deeper into that story, like, what caused him to try human meat? Like, what situation was he in at the time? Because he said, oh, I grew up, I was a normal kid, I have friends. So they don't really go into, like, how he even got in this situation in the first place. So that kind of, like, messed with me. I'm like, come on, you could have took, like, 5 minutes to just kind of go into more of a backstory, because he seems so, like, invested in this. Like, this is a crazy thing. Like, he's so obsessed with it. And then he has fun with it. Like, when he's cutting up, the pieces of the body in his kitchen and getting it prepared for for shipment, I guess. Like, he's listening to music, he's like dancing while listening, and it's like he's enjoying it. And so I wanted to know why, like, what caused this. And it's because he doesn't seem like a crazy person. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So it's just that I wish they would have, talked more about or got more into.
Yeah.
When it came to that.
Yeah, a good origin story.
Yeah.
Would have been good, but you only have so much time. I think just him saying that he tried it, maybe like an extra sentence or two of what circumstance did he find himself in that he tried it, because I mean, it's not like you can just like accidentally try human meat. I mean, I maybe unknowingly try it, but I don't know. But yeah, so just maybe like an extra 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I think
okay, maybe 5 minutes was too long. But yeah, just an extra little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Any final thoughts? Anything?
I wanted to bring up his wife.
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's an interesting story. We didn't bring up his wife,
okay.
so quick with her. She confuses me so much because when Molly is first looking for Noah, she goes to the house, finds out this guy's married. She interacts with the wife. The wife's like, yo, that's crazy. Like, no, I don't know who she is. But then you find out she's actually, like, involved with the husband, knocks Molly out. So then Steve takes her to his place, whatever. Then when we fast forward to the end, when Steve, was he already dead? I don't remember.
Yeah, when she shows up and finds him, because she finds his body.
So she finds Steve's body, and the face that she has looks like a face of relief, because they have like 2 kids, I think, together.
Yeah.
So like she has this face of like relief, like, oh, like he's gone, like I don't have this over me anymore. But then at the same time, she wants to avenge him. At the same time, she's mad at these women, and so she goes after them, still trying to kill them. So I was just confused, like, what is this woman thinking? We find out that she has a fake, like a prosthetic leg. So it makes me wonder what that history was between her and her husband. Like, was she one of his victims in the beginning, and then he fell in love with her? You know what I mean? Like, he fell in love, and then, in return, she's like, oh, he saved my life. Let me just help him continue this. Maybe that'll, keep him from using any more of my limbs. That was really weird. Like, she seemed really committed to him, but then at the same time, she looked relieved when he died. So, yeah, I think she was interesting. Yeah. I guess in that way.
Yeah, I think there could be multiple reasons.
Yeah.
It seemed to me like she was in on the business, definitely, and her helping. She knew that he was doing something if she's willing to knock out Molly and let him take her body. But I think it could have been she wanted to avenge him. It could have been she wanted to keep the business going, because the delivery man was with her when they were looking. So, there could have been multiple reasons. I think, not that I don't think she wanted to avenge him. She probably did. But I do agree with you. There must have been some kind of relief, because even when there was like one scene where they were like, in their home, and it almost seems like she's really tense whenever he's around.
Like she was like looking at herself in the mirror.
I need to be careful what I say or do, because...
Or even what she looks like, I feel, because then she was like doing this with her face. And I don't know if she was like looking at herself like, oh, am I still good enough? Or I don't know, because he touches their faces a lot too, I think. So maybe that could be, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, definitely. She probably felt some jealousy, some anger. They do have 2 kids. I do think that they did have a relationship. And he stepped out. So I think no matter what, you're going to feel that betrayal. So that was an interesting take on a marriage in that sense. But I agree.
The technology, the dependency on having a Twitter account, having a social media account, it seemed to be like of great importance, because if you don't have one, you're like a crazy person. You're trying to hide something.
Yeah.
We can't stalk you because you don't have a social media account. It's like, what did our parents do? You know what I mean? It makes you think, like, what did they do back then, like when we didn't have this? Because all of it is fairly new.
Yeah.
So there's like that dependency on that.
Almost like it's kind of like a social credit score. Like, yeah, now you're deemed a weirdo if you don't have any of these accounts, and yet studies upon studies show that the less involved human beings are with technology, the happier they are. So it's like, it's good. I think, in my opinion, I have a Twitter account, and So I've been engaged in social media, and I do believe that the more involved you are with it, I think it just takes away from life. So those were our thoughts on the movie Fresh. I will say that I liked the movie. I did not appreciate some of the themes in it, but again, this is kind of how I process. But I love movies that make me think more about my life and my impact on my wife and my kids and my community. And really, at the end of the day, I like being entertained, but I like also thinking. So I hope I was able to offer an interesting perspective. We had a great time bringing this video to you. Again, we are To Have and To Horror. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, giving us a like, and checking us out. We'll be putting out more content as we watch more movies and things like that, and we very much look forward to engaging with the community and just talking about horror. So you can find me on Twitter at VitoMech. You can find us at Have and Horror on Twitter. It's been a pleasure. Have a good scream and be good.